Welcome once again. The Speaker of the pro-Wike faction of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Honorable Martin Amaewhule, on Thursday raised the alarm that Governor Siminalayi Fubara was plotting to demolish the official quarters of the lawmakers.
Now, Fubara, who visited the quarters of the State Assembly, has clarified that he visited the quarters to assess the condition of the structures for potential rehabilitation, aiming to restore their livability. Fubara's visit to the Assembly residential quarters comes a day after factional Speaker of the Assembly, Victor Oko Jumbo, emerged. Former Rivers State Commissioner for Information, Ogbonna Nweke, joins us shortly to have this conversation. And we'll be looking into the details of the story. Now, it's important to remember that the House of Assembly complex, of course, has been a subject of conversation, especially right after the demolition that was said to be done because the integrity of the complex could not be guaranteed. This was, of course, also right after a bombing had occurred. There's a lot of politicking that, has surrounded that demolition, while some people say that the governor has to explain for what he did regarding taxpayers' money. The defense to that would be that the response was from experts, that experts guaranteed that the property was no longer fit for habitation, and as a result of the fire and the bombing, it needed to be brought down. But these are conversations that are ongoing. Of course, Rivers State has become that place that is now some form of a jungle, with politics and politicking taking front row and governance going to the backstage. A new speaker has emerged with Fubara. Siminalayi has, of course, said some things that have triggered people, one of which is referring to this as his property. Another thing was also stating that the Assembly lawmakers, the 27 of them, are still in power because of him. And this is referring to the peace accord that is not so peaceful anymore. They had left the APC to the PDP, or rather the PDP to the APC, and based off provision of Section 109, subsection G of the 1G of the Constitution, and the provision there stating that if you leave a party that elected you to this position as a House of Assembly member, that you automatically forfeit that position if you leave the party. And they left the party, but during the peace accord and as one of the requirements, they were asked to be accepted back into the party, with the speaker being reinstated. Siminalayi Fubara has worked with 3 speakers now, this being the 3rd speaker, and it's interesting to see exactly what this new turn will take.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like we said earlier, majority of the conversations concerning Rivers State, are about politics and, evading the theatrics and the games and the traps being set, by people who are not even elected currently in Rivers State. And of course, the actual governance that should be benefiting the people of Rivers State is on the back burner. It's barely even spoken about. He, of course, has gone to take a look at the Rivers State House of Assembly complex. Has he, had time to go and, look at projects that are being carried out in Rivers State? Has he gone through, the hospitals and look at, currently he even has issues with his commissioners. So I'm not even sure who he's able to, have a follow-up on KPIs being set, for development of Rivers State. If the people that he put into office is, constantly fighting with them or are constantly fighting him, then who does he, have these conversations with on how we're improving healthcare in Rivers State, how we're improving human development index in Rivers State, how we're improving, security in Rivers State, how we're improving investment opportunities in Rivers State, how we're attracting investment into Rivers State. So it's chaotic, and I do not like the fact that we've normalized it, as Nigerians. We simply have these conversations as, part of, Fuji House of Commotion, type of conversations like, oh, look at what's going on here. Oh, ha, 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 we move on. But, this is not normal in any way, shape or form, that we can have a situation like this where people constantly are antagonizing and trying, of course, to frustrate the efforts of a democratically elected governor of a state. And of course, that includes the ways that he has also been high-handed as governor. In ways that, may be impeachable or not, but it's simply just frustrating that we have normalized these things. And we can simply just have conversations and say, oh, there's somebody who used to be governor that seems to be fighting the person who's currently governor, and everybody just sees this as normal. Right. It should be absolutely condemned by the president. But unfortunately, instead of completely condemning it and putting people in check and reminding them of their responsibilities, what we instead had was the president involving himself in an 8-point agenda, peace agenda.
Yes, whilst also they can argue that there's really nothing much to Siminalayi Fubara visiting the House of Assembly complex. They're saying that he took a stroll around it. He didn't say anything to anyone or make any statements, and that he just took a stroll. And after that, he moved to another project to inspect it because it's time for them to give the Assembly complex a facelift. While Amaewhule is also raising alarm as to the fact that this is happening because they are potentially trying to maybe demolish it again. They don't exactly know what is happening. Another question would be, is that really the biggest problem of Rivers State right now, the House of Assembly complex? Are there other pressing issues that need to be sorted out? Because this is obviously, it looks obviously like politics.
It's all politics. I mean, the governor has the right to move to any part of the state that he wants to. He can inspect anywhere. But, anybody who's crying wolf or crying foul, is obviously trying to play into, people's emotions, and sensitivities, concerning the House of Assembly complex. He is allowed to, if he decides that, okay, it is actually due for demolition and for repairs, it's within his rights. If he
it's just not his property.
It's not his property, obviously, but of course, if the state...
Let's clarify that to him. It's not his property.
It doesn't mean, him deciding that, it's due for renovation doesn't mean that it is his property. It does not mean it is his property. If, there is an analysis on the building that says, okay, this place needs to be renovated, he can as well approve for the funding of renovation. Interpreting it as, oh, he's doing it as property is wrong. He's governor of the state. If there's any road in the state that they say, oh, this road, is dilapidated, I mean, the fixing of the third mainland bridge, does that make it the governor's property?
No, it's not.
Does it make it the federal government's property? Yeah. So if he decides, if, there is analysis from ministry that says, okay, the building, definitely needs renovation, they can go ahead and do it. Who's saying, interpreting it as he's doing it as property is basically playing into the same politics that we're talking about, which should be avoided. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing illegal. As long as it goes through the legal process and there's actually factual evidence that this place requires renovation, you could go ahead and do it. Okay. And of course, there has to be proper arrangements made for where the house will be sitting in that period. There's nothing wrong with any of that.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, going back to the other demolition that happened, I guess that's something that's also going to just go down like that, and there would never really be an honest explanation as to what exactly happened, why that building was demolished. We had yesterday to the president, to the governor, I beg your pardon, Governor of Rivers State on electronic media, join us on the show, and his explanation was that, there was nothing untoward about the demolition. It was based off, and which is sort of the same explanation that has been given all the while, that because of the bomb blast that had happened in that building, the integrity of the building had been compromised, and they were advised to bring down parts of it. And I remember also asking that, was that building, bringing it down, why was it done as hurriedly as it was? Because eyewitness reports, did say that the building was brought down with a lot of the facilities still inside. Not like, okay, we remove a number of these things and then demolish because we were advised to. Why was it brought down in such a hurry?
Which could also still be politics that is being played.
Yes.
Right? And that's why I mentioned earlier that, the governor himself, if there are moments where he has also been high-handed, if there's also moments when he has acted like a dictator in the state, these are also things that should be questioned. But the reason that we're seeing these things happen on both sides, from the governor to the FCT minister to the commissioners to the House of Assembly members, is simply because of political interests. It's not because of the interest of the people of Rivers State. So you can apportion blame to everybody and say, you as House of Assembly member, what prompted your need to leave the PDP, in a group and join the APC? They will explain whatever. Or the PDP was in crisis, they didn't think, whatever. But I mean, that's left for the court to then decide. Okay,
are you still Assembly members?
Exactly.
What is interpretation of
exactly? For those who are commissioners, why are you resigning? And you claim that you didn't like the way that the governor is handling issues in the state. All of these things, for the FCT minister of getting involved in the issues in Rivers State, we're even talking about pro-Wike
yes,
factions.
Yes, we have pro-Wike and pro-Fubara.
You can imagine. And this is a person who's no longer governor of the state, who, as it stands, almost has no business with the state, aside just being an ex-governor. But we're talking about a pro-Wike faction. And that's how we have, even as media, normalized these conversations. Because, what is a pro-Wike faction? What's his business with the state? He's no longer governor. So
what we're saying is just like what we see in political parties or in, labor unions, where there is one faction and another faction, which shouldn't be so. Once your term as governor has ended, it should be regarded as completely ended. And it's interesting because even this pro-Wike faction they should understand that Governor Wike had his time in office, I don't know how you'll be able to concentrate on the FCT and concentrate on Rivers State at the same time. I mean, face all the drama that you have to deal with in the FCT and just leave Rivers State alone, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I mean, it's almost, almost like hearing of, for Senator Adams Oshomole now of also getting himself involved with who becomes governor of Edo State and all of that.
Anyway.
It's a complete mess.
It is a complete mess. We have the former Rivers State Commissioner for Information, Ogbonna Nweke, joining us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Nweke. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. Talk to us about your analysis of all the drama that's going on in Rivers State with Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
Oh, well, I think that, frankly, we, as Rivers people, find ourselves at a point in history that has left us amazed. But the fact is, allies who stood together prior to an election are now disagreeing. And, of course, the ripple effects have been felt by the Rivers people. Of course, it's no longer news that in the last, say, 9 months, there have been crises in Rivers State. Regardless of the involvement of Mr. President brokering peace, the peace seems to have evaporated.
Yeah, Mr. Nweke, when you say the pieces, what exactly would you say are the factors that are majorly to blame for the lack of peace in Rivers State? There's those who blame the governor and say that he's being tribalistic or he's being, high-handed. Then there's those who blame the FCT minister and, of course, his continuous involvement in the affairs of Rivers State. Those who say, describe the pro-Wike factions in the National Assembly or commissioner. So what would you say is majorly to blame for Rivers State being in this turmoil for this long, even after the peace agreement?
I think, quite frankly, the Rivers people at this point in time are seeking stability. They want a unity of purpose. They want government that works for everyone. And above all, the Rivers people don't want a puppet governor. And perhaps that's the underlying reason for what you see as a crisis. All right. When all things were equal, I had Governor Fubara say that his major task would be delivering on governance, and that the politics, if ever, should be played by the former governor. But what you see here is that certain red lines have been crossed. You had a situation where a governor, a sitting governor, was literally deprived of the right to appoint commissioners. And the commissioners who were appointed were former commissioners who sat under the last administration. And at that time, popular public opinion in Rivers State was fiercely opposed to such a decision. But somehow, in respect of his relationship with his former boss, the new governor went ahead and played along. So what you are seeing is the right of the Rivers people to have a governor who is in charge, who is in the saddle, who does not take instructions from anywhere. And the fact that, of course, it would be wrong to say technically that because you have the governor arrive on the scene, that everything the governor does must have your clearance. It doesn't work like that. People from the gates of government house onto the inside of government house, there were people, lookouts, reporting 24/7, to the minister in Abuja, and making it impossible even for the governor, receive visitors who could add value to what he's doing. Okay, of course, this could be frustrating. If you've given birth to a son and your son has grown, reason dictates that you listen to his point of view from time to time. Okay, so you don't have a situation where, for instance, you are supposed to have a chief of staff, and somebody has your chief of staff appointed for you, and the roles that chiefs of staff play in administration of governors and even the president. So there were too many interferences coming from a supposed godfather. Let's say that people here in Rivers State don't hate Nweke.
Yeah.
But what they don't like is the impression that Rivers State belongs to Nweke.
Yeah,
And
it's a really...
That, quite a lot of support for the governor, a lot of sympathy for the governor, and a strong feeling that because you served out your tenure, you've had 8 years, the former governor should allow the present governor to serve his term. I don't believe that the arguments about tribalism holds water.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, nobody did more, even to give the impression of a tribal leader than the previous governor, who did almost everything in his area of part.
All right, Mr. Nweke.
So nobody, yes.
Yeah, apologies. We had technical challenges when we started, so we may not be able to get the full length of this conversation this morning. We will continue to monitor. We appreciate the time that you spent with us. I think the people of Rivers State, are most important in these conversations, and we hope that there is some semblance of normalcy and peace in Rivers State. Along with people like you who have played a major role in the political trajectory of Rivers State in the last couple of years. We'd like to speak with you again, and we hope that you would honor us when next we invite you.
Thank you very much for joining us. And now.